The Forbidden Door. Jack was just a maintenance worker. He had been working on the alien spaceship Xerion for 3 weeks now. He was the only human on board. The rest of the crew were tall, blue-skinned aliens called the Eldari. They had long silver hair and glowing eyes. They didn't talk much to Jack, but they let him do his job. One day, Jack was walking down a long metal hallway. He had just finished fixing a water pipe. His hands were dirty, and his stomach hurt. He needed a bathroom, and fast. The ship was huge, like a floating city. Every hallway looked the same, and all the signs were written in the Eldari language. Jack couldn't read a word. He kept walking, hoping he would find a restroom soon. Then he saw a door. It was silver and shiny, with strange golden symbols glowing on it. It looked more special than the other doors. But Jack was in a hurry and didn't care. "Whatever, it's just a bathroom," he muttered. He pressed a button. The door slid open with a soft hum. Inside, the room was beautiful. The walls glowed a soft blue. The floor looked like smooth glass. There was a sweet, calming smell in the air, like flowers and cinnamon. In the center of the room was a golden seat, shaped like a throne. It sparkled under the lights. Jack raised an eyebrow. "Wow, fancy," he whispered. "These aliens sure know how to design a toilet." He walked in and sat down on the throne. As soon as he did, the room lit up even brighter. The walls shimmered. A strange humming sound filled the air, like music playing inside his head. Jack felt a small vibration under him, like the seat was alive. He laughed. "Heh. This is the weirdest toilet I've ever seen." Then it happened. The door opened behind him. Jack turned his head slowly. Standing there was the most beautiful alien he had ever seen. She was tall, with silver hair that flowed like water. Her eyes glowed purple, and she wore a long dress made of light. She looked like royalty. Jack froze. The alien woman's eyes widened. She screamed, "You're sitting on the throne of Eldara," she shouted in perfect English. Jack blinked. What?" Suddenly, alarms began to blare. Red lights flashed. A deep robotic voice echoed through the ship. "Security alert. Throne breach detected." "Oh no," Jack whispered. Within seconds, several Eldari guards ran in. They wore black armor and carried glowing weapons. They aimed at Jack. "Get off the throne," one of them yelled. Jack jumped up, raising his hands. "I didn't know. I thought it was just a bathroom." The princess pointed at him with fire in her eyes. "This is a sacred room. Only members of the royal family may enter. That is the throne of our ancestors. You have disrespected everything we stand for." Jack's face turned pale. "Look, I swear I didn't mean to. I got lost. I needed to go. You know, number one." The guards grabbed him by the arms. "Take him to the council," one of them said. As they dragged Jack away, he looked back at the golden seat. It was still glowing, brighter than before. None of the aliens seemed to notice. Only the princess did. She stared at the throne with wide eyes. It had never glowed like that, not even when she sat on it. Something was wrong. Something unexpected. And Jack had no idea that his little mistake, sitting on the wrong seat, was about to change the future of the Eldari forever. Royal guards and panic. The moment Jack was dragged from the glowing throne, he knew he was in serious trouble. The alien guards didn't listen to anything he said. Their faces were hard and cold. Their glowing weapons stayed close to his ribs as they marched him through long silver hallways. Behind them, the princess followed slowly, her eyes never leaving the throne room. She kept glancing over her shoulder, as if the golden seat might suddenly move or speak. The throne had glowed, and not just the usual soft shimmer. It had blazed with light when the human sat on it. That had never happened before. Not in her lifetime, not in her mother's, not in her grandmother's. In fact, there were ancient stories that the throne of Eldara only lit up when the true ruler was near. But Jack was human, a nobody, a maintenance worker from a forgotten planet. It didn't make sense. Inside the security chamber, Jack was thrown into a floating cell. It hovered a few inches above the ground. Transparent walls buzzed faintly with energy, creating a force field that kept him trapped. He rubbed his face with his dirty hands and groaned. Great. One bathroom break, and now I'm in alien jail. Outside the cell, the guards stood silently. No smiles, no pity. A few minutes later, the princess entered. Everyone bowed deeply. She didn't speak to them. She stepped in front of Jack's cell and stared at him. Jack stood up and tried to smile. Hey, sorry about your golden chair. The princess didn't smile back. What is your name? She asked. Jack, he said. Jack Turner. From Earth. You are a worker. Yeah. Fix things. Pipes, wires, boring stuff. She paused, watching him closely. And you have no knowledge of the throne of Eldara. Jack raised his hands. Nope. Thought it was a bathroom. Looked comfortable. That's all. The princess turned to the guards. Leave us. They hesitated, but obeyed. Now it was just her and Jack. You have no idea what you've done, she said softly. Look, I didn't mean to offend anyone. That seat has been cold and silent for centuries. It didn't light up when I sat on it, or my mother, or my mother's mother. But when you did, it came alive. Jack blinked. Wait, are you saying I turned on your alien toilet? She didn't laugh. It's not a toilet. It's a throne of power, the throne of judgment. The energy inside it is connected to our ancestors. It only awakens for someone with the right frequency. Jack scratched his head. You're saying I've got good vibes. The princess sighed. You may joke, but this is dangerous. The council will see you as a threat. Some already fear the prophecy. What prophecy? She hesitated. Long ago, our ancestors spoke of a ruler not born of Eldari blood. Someone who would rise in a time of division. A stranger. A uniter. A foreign spark. Jack raised an eyebrow. And you think that's me? I don't know what to think, she admitted. Just then, a sound echoed from the hallway. A low, metallic hum, almost like a whisper. The princess turned sharply. Someone is listening. She pressed a button on her wrist. A screen popped up in the air, showing a tiny drone floating outside the chamber door. It had been spying on them. Council spies, she muttered. The drone zoomed away, vanishing into the walls. They're going to act fast, she said. They won't let you live if they think the throne chose you. But I didn't do anything. Exactly, she said. And that's what scares them most. Suddenly, the door slammed open. A tall, elder alien with glowing red eyes entered. He wore long robes and walked with a silver staff. Princess Ilaria, he said coldly. Step away from the prisoner. She stood tall. This is my royal matter. You have no authority here. I do when the security of the throne is at stake. The council has voted. The human must be removed. Jack's heart jumped. Wait, what? Ilaria stepped in front of Jack's cell. You can't do this. He doesn't even understand our laws. He doesn't need to, the elder said. His presence has already broken them. Then let me question him further. Alone. The elder stared at her for a long moment. His eyes narrowed, but finally he gave a small nod. You have one cycle. Then the order will be carried out. He left without another word. Jack slumped back onto the cell bench. So, I've got maybe a few hours before they vaporize me. Ilaria nodded. Unless I can prove you're not a threat. Jack looked at her. Or unless I am whatever that throne is looking for. She didn't answer. Instead, she tapped something on her wrist again. The light scanned Jack's face. What's that? He asked. Testing your DNA. If there's even a drop of Eldari match. A soft beep sounded. The screen flashed. Jack leaned over to read it, but she turned it away. Her expression changed. Confused, surprised, maybe even afraid. "What did it say?" he asked. But she didn't respond. She turned to leave, whispering something under her breath. Jack barely heard it, but it made his skin crawl. The throne doesn't lie. The truth about the throne. Jack couldn't sleep. Not that he really wanted to. He was still locked inside the floating cell. The force field buzzed gently around him. Outside, guards stood like statues. The air inside the ship felt colder now, heavier, like the walls themselves were watching him. The golden throne wouldn't leave his mind. It wasn't just the glow. It was the feeling. When Jack had sat on it, something had moved inside him, like a warm hum, a pulse. He couldn't explain it. Like the ship recognized him, or the throne had looked into his soul and nodded silently. He thought about Ilaria, Princess Ilaria. He corrected himself. She hadn't come back since the DNA scan. He remembered her expression when she saw the results. Shock, fear, and something else. Something she didn't want to say out loud. Then the door opened. Jack sat up. It was her. She stepped in, dressed differently this time. No glowing gown, no royal crown, just a dark cloak and simple boots. She looked like someone in hiding. "Get up," she said quickly. Jack blinked. "Wait, what?" "We don't have time." They moved up the order. "You're scheduled for memory erasure in 2 hours." Jack stood. Memory what? "They're not going to kill you, not physically, but they're going to wipe your mind. Send you back to Earth like nothing happened. You'll wake up thinking you fell asleep during a movie." Jack's heart pounded. That's insane. It's standard for threats the Council doesn't want remembered. "I didn't do anything." "I know," she said, lowering her voice. "But the throne did, and they're scared of what it means." Jack stepped closer to the force field. "So what now? You break me out of here, and we run through space together." She didn't smile. Close. She touched a hidden control panel on her wrist. The force field flickered, then dropped with a soft buzz. Jack stepped out, surprised to be free. "Where are we going?" She glanced both ways down the hallway. "Somewhere the Council can't follow." They moved quickly through back tunnels and unused passages deep inside the ship. Jack noticed how quiet it was. No other crew. No lights. Just cold metal and the sound of their boots. After what felt like hours, they reached a chamber with a large round door. It was sealed with 6 glowing locks. Ilaria pressed her hand to each one. The locks hissed open. Inside was a room unlike anything Jack had seen before. The walls were covered with floating symbols, glowing shapes that shifted slowly like living writing. A blue orb hovered in the center, spinning gently. Around it, smaller objects floated. Scrolls, stones, tools, and a second throne. This one was cracked, dim, ancient. "What is this place?" Jack whispered. "This is the Chamber of Records," Ilaria said. "Only the royal bloodline can enter. Not even the Council is allowed in here." Jack walked toward the orb, staring at the throne beside it. "It looks like the one I sat on." It was. The original. The one from the first dynasty. Long before the new ship was built. She walked beside him and touched the orb. The room shifted. Suddenly, glowing images filled the space around them. Holograms of ancient Eldari, floating cities, wars, peace treaties, and a human. Jack's mouth fell open. That looks like me." The image showed a human standing beside a female Eldari, holding her hand. Behind them was the golden throne. "Thousands of years ago," Ilaria said softly, "our people discovered a distant planet called Earth. We made contact. It was peaceful, brief, and then it was erased from public memory." "Why?" Jack asked. "Because of what happened next," she said. "One of our princesses fell in love with a human. She brought him back. The throne glowed for him, but the council feared the bloodline would be mixed. They called it dangerous. And what happened? They erased all records, banished the princess, sent the human away. Jack stared at the glowing human in the hologram. "So, what are you saying?" Ilaria looked at him now. "The DNA test confirmed it. You're not fully human, Jack. Somewhere in your bloodline, hidden across generations, there is Eldari ancestry." Jack's heart skipped. "You mean I'm part alien?" "Yes," she said. "The throne didn't choose you by mistake. It was waiting." Jack backed away slowly. "No, this is too much. I fix pipes. I eat microwave dinners. I cry at sad dog movies." Ilaria didn't laugh. "You carry the spark of the first bond," she said, "and that makes you a danger to the old ways." Jack ran a hand through his hair. "So what do we do now? I can't fight a council. I don't even know how to open half the doors on this ship." "You don't need to fight them," she said. "You need to survive." She handed him a strange cube. It pulsed in his hand. "This is a key to an escape pod hidden on the lower deck," she explained. "If we can reach it, we can leave this ship. Go somewhere safe. There are old allies on the moons of Kaler who still believe in the prophecy." Jack stared at the cube, then at her. "You're risking your life to help me. Why?" She hesitated. Then she looked him in the eyes. "Because I felt it too," she said. "When you sat on the throne, the energy didn't just react. It welcomed you, and for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I was alone on it." Jack didn't know what to say, but he nodded. "Okay," he whispered. "Let's get out of here." Suddenly, a sharp alarm rang out across the ship. Ilaria's face went pale. "They know." A voice echoed through the speakers. "Security breach detected in the Chamber of Records. Intruders heading to lower decks. Block all routes." Jack grabbed her arm. "Guess we're running now." The council's wrath. The ship was waking up. The soft hum of the engines turned into a deep growl. Lights along the hallway walls flashed red. Steel doors slammed shut one by one. Sirens echoed like ghostly wails through every corridor. Jack and Ilaria ran. Their boots clanged against the metal floor as they raced down a narrow passage. Ilaria held the cube tightly in her hand. It glowed brighter with every step. "They've locked the main doors," she said, panting. "We'll have to go through the maintenance shafts." Jack groaned. "Crawling through tight tunnels. Oh yeah, this just keeps getting better." Behind them, the sound of armored boots was getting louder. The guards were close. And these weren't just any guards. These were the Shadow Guard, the elite protectors of the Eldari Council. They didn't ask questions. They didn't show mercy. They followed one rule: protect the throne, no matter the cost. Jack and Ilaria ducked into a side hallway, and she slammed her hand against a small wall panel. It slid open, revealing a round, dark tunnel barely wide enough for them to crawl through. "In," she ordered. Jack crawled first. The shaft was hot, narrow, and smelled like machine oil. Pipes hissed above and below them. Tiny glowing insects crawled along the walls. Jack tried not to scream. They crawled in silence for what felt like forever. Finally, they dropped into a lower hallway, one Jack had never seen before. "This area's not on any map," he said. "It's not supposed to be," Ilaria replied. "It was built in secret by the old royal engineers, hidden from the council. Only the heir was meant to know about it." Jack gave her a sideways glance. "You're full of surprises." They moved quickly, following the cube's soft pulsing light. Every now and then, they heard something far behind them. A door opening, a shout, a blast of energy. The Shadow Guard was still hunting, and they were getting closer. Ilaria suddenly stopped in front of a large sealed door. It had no handle, no buttons, just a small symbol carved into the metal. It looked like a star inside a human hand. Jack touched it. The symbol glowed. The door slowly slid open. Inside was a round chamber filled with blue lights. Floating panels showed different parts of the ship. In the center was a sleek silver pod, shaped like a teardrop. Its surface shimmered like water. "There it is," Ilaria said with relief. "The escape pod." They stepped inside. The door began closing behind them, when a sharp voice echoed from outside. "Don't move." Jack turned just as 4 Shadow Guard soldiers appeared in the hallway, their weapons aimed directly at him. "Get down," Ilaria shouted. She threw up a small energy shield. The guards opened fire. Blue bolts slammed into the shield, shaking the entire chamber. Jack grabbed a metal rod lying on the ground and swung at the control panel. Sparks flew. "Get in the pod," Ilaria yelled. They dived in. The door sealed shut. Inside, the pod was tight but clean. A single control console lit up with alien symbols. "Can you fly this thing?" Jack asked. "I've never done it alone," she said, "but I've seen it done." She tapped the console. The pod shook violently, then lifted off the ground. Outside, the Shadow Guard fired one last shot, but the pod shot forward like a bullet, racing through a launch tunnel and blasting out into space. They were free. For now. Elsewhere, high above the throne chamber in the council tower, the Eldari elders gathered around a floating projection. They had seen everything. The throne glowing, the human touching it, the princess helping him escape. Elder Korvax, the oldest of the council, stood silently. His eyes were colder than ice. "The throne reacted," he said finally. "The prophecy may be real." A younger elder spoke up. "Then we must bring him back." Korvax turned his head slowly. "No, we must erase him." And the princess. "But if he is the one, then we are already too late." Back in space, Jack stared out the window. Stars flew by like streaks of light. He had never been in a small pod before. It felt more like a tin can flying through a storm. "So," he said after a long silence, "where are we going?" "There's a planet not far from here." "Kaler II," Ilaria said. "It's hidden inside an asteroid field. That's where the last believers of the first bond live. People like me." "Not exactly," she replied. "But they protect knowledge. Old tech, lost truths." Jack sighed. "I really miss fixing pipes." Ilaria finally smiled. "You're handling this better than I expected. I think I'm still in shock. Ask me again after I eat something." Suddenly, the pod shook. Hard. Alarms rang out. The console turned red. "What's happening?" Jack asked. Ilaria's eyes scanned the screen. "We've been hit. Something's following us." She tapped into the back camera. A dark shape appeared, massive and silent. "A council warship." "They found us," she whispered. A deep robotic voice filled the pod. "Unknown vessel. This is High Command of Eldari Council. Return the human immediately, or be destroyed." Ilaria looked at Jack. "We can't outrun them." "Can we fight?" "No. But we can vanish." She opened a panel and pulled out a small device. "This is a phase shifter. It can tear a hole in space, just big enough for the pod." Jack stared. "Wait, like teleporting?" "Yes, but it's risky. One wrong calculation, and we land inside a star." Jack swallowed hard. "Do it." She activated the shifter. The pod spun faster, energy building around them. Lights flickered. Systems began to fail. The council ship fired, just as the pod vanished into a burst of blue light. Somewhere unknown. The pod crash-landed on a rocky surface. Jack opened his eyes slowly. He was alive. Barely. Ilaria was beside him, unconscious, but breathing. Outside the window, the sky was dark red. Strange trees bent in the wind. Lightning flashed across the clouds. Jack stepped outside, helping Ilaria to her feet. "Where are we?" he asked. She looked around. "I don't know." Escape to the outer rings. The wind howled through the alien trees. They weren't trees like Earth's trees. These were tall, twisted, and glowing softly, like glass tubes filled with blue light. The leaves shimmered like metal and hissed when the wind hit them. Jack stumbled forward, supporting Ilaria, who was still weak from the crash. Their pod was broken, half buried in the red dirt behind them. Smoke rose from the engine. The phase jump had worked, but it had nearly killed them both. "Are we alive?" Ilaria whispered. "Barely," Jack said. "But we're here, wherever here is." Ilaria coughed and looked around. "It's not Kaler II. This place is different. Older." They limped away from the crash site, heading toward a small ridge. When they reached the top, Jack's eyes widened. Below them was a valley filled with light. Not natural light, but structures. Dozens of glowing stone buildings built in circles. Floating orbs hovered above them like stars frozen in the sky. Strange symbols danced across their surfaces, and in the very center stood a tall black pyramid, its tip flashing like a heartbeat. "What is this place?" Jack asked. Ilaria's voice was quiet. "A temple city. I've only seen pictures in ancient scrolls. This is the ruined core." Jack raised an eyebrow. "That sounds cheerful." "It's sacred ground," she said. "The last known location of the first flame. The energy that once connected all Eldari minds before the civil wars." Jack blinked. "You guys had space internet in your heads." Ilaria actually smiled. "Sort of." They began to climb down into the valley. The air smelled different here, like warm earth and electricity. Jack felt something deep in his bones, a gentle pull, like invisible hands guiding him forward. He didn't tell Ilaria. He didn't have to. She already knew. Inside the temple city, as they stepped into the ruins, the buildings began to glow. Not all at once, but softly, one by one, as if waking up. Old statues of creatures Jack didn't recognize stood at the entrances. Some looked like tall lizard birds. Others had multiple arms, but many of them had human-like faces, and some looked exactly like Jack. He froze. "Ilaria, do you see this?" She stared at the carvings, stunned. "This is impossible. These statues are thousands of years old. Maybe more." Jack pointed. "That one's got my nose." They entered the pyramid cautiously. Inside, the air was warm and silent. The walls were covered in ancient writing, glowing softly like wet paint. The path led to a round chamber in the heart of the structure. In the center was a pedestal. On top of it floated a crystal, spinning slowly. It looked ordinary, until Jack stepped forward. The moment he did, the crystal flashed. The entire room lit up with images. Not just pictures, memories. Glowing scenes danced in the air. An ancient human holding hands with an Eldari queen. A crowd of aliens kneeling before them. A great battle. A child being hidden in a pod and sent into space. Jack took a step back. His heartbeat echoed in his ears. "It's showing your ancestry," Ilaria whispered. "This place, this whole city, it was built by the original Eldari human union." Suddenly, the ground rumbled. From the sides of the chamber, hidden doors slid open. Figures stepped out, tall, cloaked, glowing. Their faces were pale, and their eyes glowed white. They looked old, not weak, but wise, like time itself had taught them secrets. Jack raised his hands. Hi." The figures bowed. One stepped forward. His voice was soft but powerful. "You have returned." Jack blinked. "Me? You carry the spark, the light of the first bond. We felt the throne awaken, and we prepared for your arrival." Ilaria stepped forward, amazed. "You knew." The figure nodded. "The prophecy was never about war. It was about restoration. The bond between our species was never supposed to break. But the Council, they feared it." Jack tried to speak, but nothing came out. Another figure approached him. She placed a hand on his chest. "You were hidden well," she said, "but the throne remembers." Suddenly, Jack felt a wave of energy enter his body. His mind filled with images, voices, and feelings that were not his own. Memories of other lives, of places he had never been. He saw a vast tree floating in space. He saw a child being carried through a storm of fire. He saw a throne that burned with blue fire. And in all of them, he was there. He gasped and fell to his knees. Ilaria caught him. The lead figure looked at them both. "The time has come," he said. "You must finish what was started. The throne must be united, and the council must fall." Jack stood slowly. "But how? I don't have an army. I don't have weapons." "You have something stronger," the old figure said. "What's that?" The figure touched Jack's chest again. "You." Meanwhile, on the Eldari Council warship, Elder Korvax stared at the star map. The pod had vanished from sensors, but not for long. One of the young commanders entered the chamber. "We've traced their phase signature," he said. "They landed near the ruined core." Korvax's face turned pale. "That place is forbidden," he whispered. "No one can survive there." "But if a human activated it," Korvax slammed his staff on the floor. "Then we must act now." Back in the temple, the cloaked figures led Jack and Ilaria to a deeper part of the temple. There, in a sealed chamber, was a throne. Not gold, not glowing. Stone, old, cracked, but powerful. "This is the original throne," the old figure said. "It was built not to rule, but to bind, to bring peace between our species. But it was buried and forgotten." Jack looked at it. "It's ugly," he said. The old figure smiled. "It is truth. Truth is never pretty." Jack slowly stepped toward it. "Wait," Ilaria said. "Once you sit, everything will change." Jack looked at her. "I think everything already has." He sat. The throne didn't glow. It burned. Light exploded from the stone, rising through the pyramid like a beacon into the sky. The valley responded, every building lighting up, every orb spinning. The first bond had awakened. Rise of the human king. The stone throne pulsed with living energy. Light wrapped around Jack like a soft storm. It didn't burn him. It welcomed him. The glow wasn't from the throne itself, but from within him. A connection, ancient and long asleep, had now woken fully. Ilaria watched in awe as the old temple trembled gently. The floating orbs in the valley outside danced like planets, and in that moment it became clear. The throne had accepted him, not just as a visitor, but as something more, as a bridge, the bond complete. The elder figure stepped forward, his long cloak trailing behind him. "It is done," he whispered. "The first bond has returned." Jack slowly stood up from the throne. The light faded, but something inside him had changed. He felt stronger, not physically, but deep in his chest, where doubt used to live. "I saw things," he said softly. "Memories, people, even entire cities." "You saw the truth," the elder replied. "The truth they tried to bury." Ilaria stepped closer. "What happens now?" "The council will come," the elder said. "They will come with fear in their hearts and weapons in their hands, because they know what this means." "What does it mean?" Jack asked. "That you are now the living symbol of peace and power, a threat to everything they've built on fear." Jack looked at his hands. They weren't glowing. They looked the same as before, dirty, scratched, human. "How do I stop them?" he asked. The elder turned toward the back wall. It slowly opened, revealing a hidden chamber. Inside was a long room filled with technology far more advanced than what Jack had seen on the council's ships. Devices floated in midair. Maps changed shape on glowing walls. But in the center of it all was a suit, silver, dark blue, and lined with pulsing energy. "This belonged to the last human who sat on the throne," the elder said. He never got to wear it. But now, it's yours. Jack stepped forward, eyes wide. It looks like Iron Man made a space wedding suit, he said. Ilaria smiled softly. It suits you. He put it on. The metal adjusted to his body, wrapping around him like it had waited for him all along. The moment it locked in place, the throne symbol, a star inside a hand, lit up across the chest. Jack Turner was no longer just a worker from Earth. He was something more. Meanwhile, above the planet, the Council's warship hung in orbit like a steel predator. Inside the command chamber, Elder Korvax watched the throne's light blaze from the valley below. "It has awakened," one of the officers said. "And now, we silence it." He turned to the control panel. "Send the ships, all of them. Flatten the valley. If the human survives, bring him back in chains." The officer hesitated. "What about the princess?" Korvax's voice was ice. "Make sure she doesn't." The battle begins. The first blast struck just outside the temple gates. Dust and stone exploded into the air. The ground shook. Jack looked up. The sky was turning black with smoke. Dozens of Eldari dropships filled the sky, shaped like knives, slicing through clouds. "They're here," he said. Ilaria turned to the Elder. "We have defenses, right?" The Elder nodded. "Ancient ones. Hidden, but they haven't been used in centuries." Jack raised a hand. "Then let's wake them up." The old defenses. Ilaria and Jack followed the Elders through deep tunnels under the pyramid. There, hidden under layers of earth, were large circular platforms. "They're called Warden Sentinels," one Elder explained. "Machines made by both human and Eldari hands. They will protect the valley, but only if commanded by one who carries the bond." Jack stepped onto the platform. The stone below his feet lit up. A deep voice, mechanical but calm, echoed from nowhere. "Bond recognized. Warden systems activating." From the ground, massive machines began to rise. They weren't just weapons. They were guardians. Tall as towers, shaped like warriors, each with arms that transformed into shields and energy cannons. The valley came alive with them. The moment the dropships got close, the wardens opened fire. Blue energy sliced through the sky. Ships exploded like fireworks. But the council had numbers. More kept coming. Jack stood at the highest point of the pyramid, watching it all unfold. "This is war," he said. "No," Ilaria said softly. "This is a reckoning." The final confrontation. Hours passed. Smoke filled the sky. Half the valley burned. But the people fought. Elders, hidden believers, warden machines, and Jack himself at the front, wearing the throne suit, leading them. And then, Korvax arrived. He landed in a personal shuttle, stepping out with black armor and red eyes burning. He walked toward Jack, completely calm. "You should have stayed lost," he said. Jack didn't flinch. "You should have cleaned your throne more often." Korvax raised his staff. "You carry stolen power." Jack took a step forward. It wasn't stolen. It was forgotten. They clashed. Korvax's staff shot red lightning. Jack blocked it with an energy shield from his suit. The ground cracked around them. They fought across the valley, each strike like thunder. Jack wasn't trained, but he was connected. The throne guided his movements. The suit responded like it knew the future. And finally, Jack stood over Korvax. The Elder growled, "Kill me. Be the tyrant they fear." But Jack lowered his hand. "No," he said, "I'm not here to take power. I'm here to give it back." He turned to the surviving council soldiers. "It's over," Jack said. "The throne has spoken. The bond has returned. We can keep fighting each other forever, or we can become something greater, together." One by one, the soldiers dropped their weapons. Later that night, the fires were put out. The wounded were healed. Jack stood at the throne again, this time with Ilaria beside him. "I never wanted to be a king," he said. "You're not," she replied. You're something better. A bridge. He looked out at the people, Eldari and humans alike, gathered in peace. And he smiled. The final throne. The war was over. Smoke no longer rose from the valley. The skies had cleared. The strange glowing trees bent gently in the wind once more. The ancient temple city stood tall, scared but not broken. And for the first time in centuries, the throne of unity was not silent. It pulsed with a soft, golden light, not as a symbol of control, but as a symbol of something far greater, hope. 1 week later, Jack Turner stood alone in the old pyramid chamber. His armor was gone, replaced with simple clothes. His eyes were tired, but steady. In front of him, the throne waited, silent, peaceful, not calling him, not glowing. Just there. Hilaria entered quietly. "They're ready," she said. Jack nodded slowly. "Still feels weird," he said. "Being called a leader." "You're not a leader," she replied gently. "You're a reminder." Jack smiled. "Of what?" "That peace is possible. That the bond we lost can be found again. Through you." He turned back to the throne. "I didn't want this," he said. "I didn't ask for it." "I know," she whispered. "That's why it chose you." A new ceremony. The valley had been rebuilt. The ruins were still visible, but between them, new things had grown. Trees from Earth planted alongside Eldari crystals. Children of both species played near the temple steps. The sound of laughter returned to a place that once held only silence. At the center of it all was the throne, not behind walls, not guarded by soldiers, but open, in the sunlight. Elders from both worlds gathered, not to crown a king, but to write a new beginning. Jack stood before them, Ilaria at his side. He looked at the crowd. He saw engineers from Earth holding scanners and notebooks. He saw Eldari scientists rebuilding old machines with humans teaching them coding. He saw farmers, teachers, families, and he realized something important. This wasn't his throne. It belonged to all of them. Jack's speech. He cleared his throat and stepped up. "I don't know what I'm supposed to say," he began, scratching his neck. A few people laughed softly. "I came here by mistake. I thought I was walking into a bathroom." More laughter. "But maybe the universe doesn't make mistakes. Maybe it sends the right person, even if they're not ready." He looked down. "When I sat on that throne, I didn't feel powerful. I felt scared, small, lost. But something inside it, something ancient, didn't care about my job or my species. It just looked into me, and it saw a bridge." He looked at the crowd. "I'm not your king. I don't want to rule. I want to build. I want to learn. I want to sit across a table from someone completely different than me and not be afraid." He placed his hand gently on the armrest of the throne. "And if this throne still wants me, I'll use it, not to give orders, but to open doors." He stepped back. The crowd stood in silence. Then, applause. Later that evening, Jack walked alone near the glowing trees. Ilaria found him sitting under one. "They're calling you the Throne Touch now," she said with a grin. "Sounds dramatic," he said. "You saved us." "I didn't save anyone," Jack said. "They saved each other. I just made the first mistake." Ilaria sat beside him. "You're leaving, aren't you?" He nodded. "I'm not a ruler. I'm a human. I belong to my people, to Earth. But Earth has changed," she said softly. "They'll see you differently now." "I know, but maybe they need to." She looked at him, eyes soft. "So this is goodbye?" "No," he said. "It's just see you soon. I'll come back. With stories, with help, maybe even with coffee." She laughed. "You'd better." They sat in silence. Then Jack looked up at the stars. "They're still out there," he said. "Other worlds, other people, maybe other bridges. Then go find them, she said. 1 month later, a small ship left the planet's orbit. Inside it, Jack sat at the controls, a backpack beside him, a picture of the glowing throne tucked inside his jacket. The ship's AI spoke in a calm voice. Destination. Jack smiled. Earth. Meanwhile, on Earth, news reporters spoke in stunned voices. A strange object appeared above the Pacific Ocean today. A single man stepped out. No weapons, no army, just a message. At the United Nations, Jack stood at a podium, surrounded by world leaders. He told them everything. Not about power, but about unity. About a bond once lost, and now found again. Many years later, children on Earth and Eldaria sat together in classrooms, learning each other's languages, histories, jokes. Starships traveled freely between the two worlds. And in every city, on both planets, there was a small monument. A stone seat. Simple, unmoving, but always glowing softly. At its base, a small plaque read, "Sometimes peace begins with the wrong door." And the courage to stay. Jack Turner, The First Bridge.